Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I'm an intuitive artist and a student of natural law, and I'm currently reviewing formal consensus decision-making as a way to create freedom in the freedom community, because I've noticed that we're still relying on our old paradigm of the hierarchy. Either we have a guru, either it's a silent guru or an outspoken guru, a word mechanic, someone who sounds good. We either have that person, we might have a narcissist who's running everything, but we are not using unilateral participation, horizontal communication. And as a result, groups are splitting, and we're fragmented and we're not united. So I'm analyzing formal consensus that was created by C.T. Butler in the 70s. And I'll put a link to the document in the bottom of the YouTube video. And I'm already on page 4 of the document. Group dynamics. A group, by definition, is a number of individuals having some unifying relationship. The group dynamic created by consensus process is completely different from that of parliamentary procedure from start to finish. So most groups do use parliamentary procedure or some form of it, whether they know it or not, Robert's Rules of Order, and that automatically creates a hierarchy of those who know and those who don't know. It is based on different values and uses different language, a different structure, and many different techniques, although some techniques overlap. It might be helpful to explain some broad concepts about group dynamics and consensus. Conflict. While decision-making is as much about conflict as it is about agreement, formal consensus works best in an atmosphere in which conflict is encouraged, supported, and resolved cooperatively with respect, nonviolence, and creativity. Conflict is desirable. It is not something to be avoided, dismissed, diminished, or denied. So this is a really amazing thing to look at these days. Right now, we basically avoid conflict at all costs and try to shut it down immediately. And we are in a position right now where if people have different points of view, they are basically crushed by the predominant point of view. Now, the one thing I don't really like about this is the use of the term nonviolence. I know that there is such a thing as nonviolent communication, but the reason I don't like that term is because it is a negative term. So the opposite of nonviolence is peace. And I'm not really sure why we don't just say peaceful communication, but perhaps it's too much of a broad term to maybe it has connotations of harmony being preferential over unity. Unity does not always mean harmony. We can have unity among a group of people without necessarily having everyone agree. We can agree to disagree, and that can be okay and can be a part of the group. Consensus. However, the idea that conflict is encouraged, supported, and resolved cooperatively with respect and creativity and peace, now that is something we really can strive for, because within conflict is the creative seed of the new idea. Okay, majority rule and competition. Generally speaking, when a group votes using majority rule or parliamentary procedure, a competitive dynamic is created within the group because it is being asked to choose between two or more possibilities. It is just as acceptable to attack and diminish another's point of view as it is to promote and endorse your own ideas. Often, voting occurs before one side reveals anything about itself, but spends time solely attacking the opponent. In this adversarial environment, one's ideas are owned and often defended in the face of improvements. So, majority rule and competition, I mean, that's pretty much what America has been diminished to at this point. And social media has not assisted how we attack each other. You know, let's look at Facebook being the first real prevalent social media platform where you have this wall, people put their points of view on it, and other people attack those points of view. And that's become like a sort of norm. But in nature, you would never see that. You could never see something like that in nature, where you could anonymously attack another's point of view and not have consequences of your own. I'm just thinking, you know, of a wasp's nest in nature. Like, you can't have invisible wasps attacking a bee without the other bees possibly then attacking the wasps. You know, it's not like something that you would actually see in nature where there would be such an occurrence. This is something that was invented by humans in a digital realm, but now it's sort of being used in face-to-face communication where we just attack each other and expect not to have consequences. But the consequence is that we don't have unity and we don't have a way to utilize the creativity that is embedded in conflict. Also, majority rule, this is another thing, you know, I've seen in groups that I've been involved with where you vote too quickly before the topic has been hashed out and people's questions haven't been answered. And so you have majority rule. So it seems like the predominant voice won. But when you try to get group support for the new idea or whatever, the group is actually divided in the shadows. And so there really is no support for the new idea, actually physically. They may have all gone along with it in the meeting, but in actuality, one by one, people just don't participate. And so then you just don't have true majority rule at all. Okay, let me look at this again. The idea is if you hash out the idea, you look at all points of view, at it from a neutral point of view, and everyone has a chance to voice their concerns, then one of several things will happen. Either a new idea will be born out of the discussion, which is actually best serves more people, or the people who were on the fence or the people who were opposing the idea may actually begin to support it. And then you'll actually have physical support of the new idea, which is what you actually want. I would actually want. I mean, how many times do you just go along with something? And I'm thinking of work. I go along with something because there's no point in bringing up my point of view because there's some narcissist running everything. And then I just sneak around and don't do what I said I was told I was supposed to do, or I do it to the minimum amount. I give it the minimum amount of my effort because I don't really support it. And I'm also looking for another job now because I'm being pressed to the wall to do things I don't want to do. I mean, this is just common nowadays, but it doesn't have to be if we spent the time discussing our different points of view on the idea and our different concerns about how it might affect us individually and as a group, then we could actually come to an actual consensus. Consensus and cooperation. Consensus process, on the other hand, creates a cooperative dynamic. Only one proposal is considered at a time. Everyone works together to make it the best possible decision for the group. Any concerns are raised and resolved, sometimes one by one, until all voices are heard. Since proposals are no longer the property of the presenter, a solution can be created more cooperatively. Now, remember, we are dealing in small groups of 150 or less. We're not talking about a country. We're not talking about socialism here. We're talking about a small group of people who are trying to unify in community to take action together that supports the mission of the entire group. That's what we're talking about. Proposals. In the consensus process, only proposals which intend to accomplish the common purpose are considered. Wow. You mean that means you don't just randomly talk about whatever scandalous thing you want to throw in? I mean, that's something I see all the time. Like we have a group, let's say we have a group on Telegram, for example, that used to be about a community effort to organize under a PMA, private membership association, to support that community. And now the entire Telegram channel is devoted to forwarding scandalous news that keeps us in a state of fear. Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Well, because I would say, because I'll speak for myself, I'm addicted to FUD porn. What is FUD porn? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt pornography that is being promoted by the globalists, most likely through the alternative media, to keep us all in a state of fear instead of, working together for common unity, because we're kind of all addicted to like that click, that like the next scary thing. It kind of releases some dopamine or something. It makes us feel good and bad at the same time. Good that I get to pass along the bad news, and bad because the bad news is bad. I mean, it's crazy. It's really crazy. And it's not getting us anywhere, really. I'm not even going to bring up the topic that came up this morning in one of my groups. I mean, it's one of the most controversial topics, that is the most pointless topic to discuss. And it's just, I can't believe they brought it up right now. I mean, the timing of it makes sense to me astrologically that they would bring it up, but it's just so naive. Each person has the right to believe whatever the hell they want to believe. That's one of our inalienable rights, is to worship and believe anything we want, but we don't have to convince other people of our beliefs, and we don't have to argue about them on social media. It's just pathetic. I mean, I wonder if we were face to face, would we be arguing about these extremely controversial topics? Probably not. We would probably be talking about the weather or whatever, wouldn't we? And maybe we would get around to talking about solutions for ourselves, for our betterment and our community efforts. That's the hope. Let's see. During discussion of a proposal, everyone works to improve the proposal to make it the best decision for the group. Wow. Yeah, that would be good. Like where we weren't tearing other people down to make ourselves look better, but rather instead trying to improve upon the proposal. All proposals are adopted unless the group decides it is contrary to the best interests of the group. And when I get into further into this, in chapter 3, they're going to discuss the principles of the group that the group decides upon. And that's how the group is going to decide if the proposal is contrary to the best interests of the group, is if it violates any of the principles of the group. But we'll get there. I'm going to keep going in order. Chapter 1, introduction, which is what we're doing right now. But that's all for today. Gives you some stuff to gnaw on.